Hello. I am so excited to be back with you. Since Friday, so much has changed, has it not? Well, at least it's supposed to be changing. Well, I am ready to continue tonight with our book study, Rise of the False Gods. And we are talking tonight about There Will Be Signs. And just so you know, I am so happy that you're here with me. Do feel free to make comments or ask questions. I may not see them when I am doing the video, but as soon as it's over, I will review it and I will respond at that time. Always be sure you can go to YouTube and view previous videos on this series, on this book study. I am just getting back now that I have my new computer. I'm uploading everything. So I was behind, but I've been working diligently to catch back up. So you will see all the videos caught up very shortly. So let's get to our book study for tonight. Let me just fix that. Okay. Well, tonight we're talking about There Will Be Signs. I have a show that I like to watch, only I think I've just about run out of episodes because they stopped making it. And it's kind of a silly show, I guess you would say. It's called Parking Wars. And I love Parking Wars because I like to watch people and how they interact and how they respond, especially if they're having one of those uh-oh moments. And a lot of times what happens is because somebody did not pay attention to a sign. Sometimes it's no parking here to corner. Sometimes it's no parking during these hours, or no standing, or no double parking, or no parking in fire zone. And the people think, well, it's not going to matter. I'm not going to get caught. Boy, how many times do we think we're not going to get caught? And then we surprise ourselves because we will get that ticket. Ugh, I haven't had a lot of parking tickets, but I'll tell you about one I had. And I thought I was doing perfectly well. I was living in California, and I went into Hollywood to audition for a game show. And I had been called back because, well, this was in the process. I parked the car and I thought I'd be out and, put in my money. Then I forgot all about it, didn't think about it. So I went and I interviewed, in order to, when you go on a game show or you try to get on a game show, everyone's put in this big room. They call it a cattle call. And then they have you run through the show and they get the numbers down and down. And so I was trying out that day for Scrabble. That you probably don't remember. It didn't last that long. But Gene Rayburn was the host, I think. And I did the show, did the run through, and I kicked the butt of my opponent. So I thought I'm doing good. Well, then they came back and they asked me, we want you to do another run through with the guy. So I said, okay. And I did the run through with the guy and I beat his butt again. And I went home, and when I got to the parking area where my car was, I had a ticket. But I said, well, I got a ticket, but I got a good shot of being on this game show. And I got home and no, I did not get selected. Oh, I didn't get selected, and I got a ticket on top of it. Maybe I should have paid attention to the sign, and at least I would have avoided the parking ticket. There's signs everywhere for us, every day. The problem is we either don't pay attention to them, or we think that we will be the exception to the rule, right? Take it seriously, right? That happens to most of us. Sometimes the signs are something we really should pay attention to, and we keep an eye on it and keep an eye on it. For example, this past year I had an episode of skin cancer. And I'd kind of looked at it on my arm, and I'd looked at it, and I said, maybe I wouldn't have maybe I'd go to get it checked out. Now, I wouldn't have gotten it checked out had not someone pointed out this, which is not skin cancer. It's just a typical you're getting old thing. So I finally went because I thought I'll have this checked out, and while I'm there, I'll have my arm checked out. And I had my arm checked out, and sure enough, it was skin cancer. But it was one that they could handle with no problem, and now I checked it, I'm fine. We got to pay attention to the signs. Now, the signs you can see are one thing. Then there are the signs you can't see. They're signs. The signs are called effects. And very often when we're making our decisions, we're taking action, we're sending forth causes, but we don't look at the big picture. We don't look at the effect of that sign. So today I'm going to be reading, for those of you that are following in the book, at the bottom of page 85. Thank you, Cheryl. There will be signs. Now it says, from the shadows, false gods emerge, seducing us with thoughts of personal power and pleasure. Their influence increasing as long-held virtues deteriorate. I know, it's one of those things. You're just going to have to get used to it, that I'm going to talk about stuff that's probably going to annoy you. And I'm just asking, you don't have to believe everything I say. All I ask is you listen and consider. Because if knowing this stuff can make your life better, how could you beat that? Okay. Like the little biblical little foxes that spoil the flowering vine in Solomon's vineyard, promises of a harvest are wiped out. Now, what would that mean? What would the signs be? This, if, let's say that you're not, you kind of get lax about showing up at work on time, and you kind of squeak in, and maybe the boss talks to you a little bit, maybe you get, written up a little bit, but then that day will come. It didn't seem like those little foxes, those little thoughts, those little words, those little actions were going to get you into trouble, but they do. The same thing is true, for example, with like having an office flirtation. Especially, if you're having any problems in your relationship, in your marriage, and, you're kind of bummed out about it, and you go and there's someone, at the office that just thinks you are the best thing since sliced bread, and always tells you how good you looking you are, and how you're smart, and you ought to do better in the company, and you start to listen to it. Well, what's happened is your ego's getting schmoozed, and it feels good, and you think it's harmless. And then comes that harmless having lunch. And then there comes that harmful affair. Or just the alienation of the affection. You have let a wedge come into your relationship. Little foxes spoil the vine. The little things we're not thinking about. There's a couple of words that you gotta be really careful of. One of them is just, and the other is, it's, if only, or what if, or, it's just. It's nothing to be, we have to watch out for those, because it's just one extra drink. It's just, whatever it is, lying, whatever it is. Those are the little foxes. But there's signs. Again, let's go back to work. You're showing up late a lot. Boss talks to you. It's a sign, You drink too much. You get a hangover. It's a sign. I don't know who it is, but some comedian has this thing. There's your sign. You know, we learn a lot by hindsight. If we're paying attention, we learn by hindsight, especially if a particular thing happens in our lives over and over again. What if we could practice foresight? What if, you know? I remember in my single and caring days, and most women go through this. I don't know what men go through because I'm not a man. I'm very happy I'm not a man, but most women go through this. You go out with someone, and then they say, okay, I'll give you a call. And by this time, you know, you're halfway down the aisle. You know, oh, I'm in love. And he doesn't call, and he doesn't call, and he doesn't call. And you think to yourself, well, maybe I ought to call. Maybe he lost my number. It probably was Jeff Foxworthy. Thank you, Cheryl. You have all the answers. When I have answers, I know. Go to Cheryl. So anyway, you wait for that phone call. You wait for the phone call. And then you think, well, maybe I ought to call him. Now, that is so common that there's even a movie about it, and it's called He's Just Not That Into You. And you know, the sign, if he doesn't call, is he's just not that into you. Oh, if we could get those signs. Bounce checks or overdrafts on your account, it's a sign. We have to look, but we have to connect the sign with the false god, the cause that preceded it. Okay? So, for example, the office flirtation, which false god would that be? Are you thinking ego? Oh yeah, your ego is getting stoked and stroked. Could be Baal, because when you see, which is the nature god, when you see that person, your heart goes pitter-pat, you know? And so it's a physical urge. It's a physical temptation. The false gods will tempt us. And if we're smart, we'll see the signs. Not by hindsight where we go, oh God, how did that happen? Or even worse, how did that happen again? Or even worse, why does that keep happening? Hindsight and foresight. Look at the logical outcome of something that you are going to do. You know, when it's too late, you know, when you've texted while you're driving and you hit something or someone, which would be unthinkable, it was just that once. I was just going to take my eyes off, you know. What was the false god behind it? Was it ego? I'm so important. I must answer this call right now. I must text this message right now. You know, unless you are a brain surgeon and you got an emergency call and you can pull over and check your phone. Brain surgeon's not going to help anybody if their patient dies because they got hit by a car because they ran a stop sign. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't really help. We like to think it helps, but it doesn't really help at all. Okay. So let's look at this scripture again. Solomon, the thing about the scripture about the little foxes comes from the story, books of wisdom. And so the little foxes were in Solomon's garden. So Solomon represents wisdom. Do you know why Solomon represents wisdom? Because God said to him, you've done so well, you follow me so well, I'll tell you what, you ask for anything you want, and I will give it to you. Now, he was just made king. So if God said to you, I will give you anything you want, what do you want? What would you say? Think about it. Would you want money? Do you want health? Beauty? eternal age, agelessness. We're eternal beings, but we have this body that is temporary. So you could ask, I want to be young forever. Ooh, that was like Dorian Gray. You don't want that. Well, Solomon said, especially understanding that he had just become king, he asked for wisdom and an understanding heart. You know, we already have the gifts of wisdom and understanding. They're spiritual faculties that God has given all of us. So, you know, God said anyone would have asked for riches and power, but you asked for wisdom and an understanding heart. So you know what? I'm going to give it all to you. So we got the wisdom and the understanding heart and riches and honor. And we can too, if we practice foresight and hindsight and look for the signs. The little foxes are ideas, temptations, doubt, fear, ignorance, and the actions we take based on them. You know, it's funny, I worked for a few years on this book before I wrote it. And I actually had that light go off in my brain tonight that said, oh, I didn't actually write temptation in there. So if you have the book, those little foxes are temptation and seduction, as well as thoughts of fear, ignorance, power. We cannot let little foxes, little temptations, little yeah buts or if onlys, okay, or it's just a little. We cannot let them be the ones that spoil the vine. Now, the vine is a part of our growing in order to produce. The vine comes from it's a part of the branch, okay? So let's imagine that you had a lovely vineyard and discovered little foxes coming in and gnawing on the grapevines. You'd have to eliminate them. You'd have to get rid of them, chase them away. Are you currently having any doubts, any fears, any temptations, any laziness, or, ooh, there's that one, procrastination? Yeah. I have a cute little cartoon, and there's a sign on the wall, and it says, Procrastinators Anonymous. And then underneath that it said, meeting postponed. Yeah, we can't. It's so easy to procrastinate, isn't it? That's a little fox that spoils the vine. And when we see our stuff getting done, it's a sign we have not been doing that which we want to get where we want. How many people have said to me, you know, I write books. You know that. And people have said to me, I've always wanted to write a book. I wanted to write a novel. I wanted to write a technical book. But you know what? He said, but I'm not a writer. You know what writers do? They write. Sit down and write. Doesn't matter if anybody reads as long as you're happy with it. That's what I do. I write. And then I put it out there for people to hopefully enjoy. Okay. What little white lies have you told? That's a little fox that gnaws away at the vine. What might be weakening your spiritual strength? You know what Scott Peck said? Laziness and narcissism. Are we being a little lazy in our lives? Are we being a little narcissistic? Thinking of ourselves first? When we see problems in our lives, check to see what little foxes might be behind them. Jesus said, I am the branch and you are the vine. So for us, that means that Jesus gave us a teaching. And the Dalai Lama gives us teachings. And Confucius. And there are many sources, Eckhart Tolle. And the thing is that Jesus is the main vine for me. He's my main guy. His teachings, if we follow them, are flawless. his teachings, if we follow them, are flawless. Okay? So if we have little stuff gnawing away at our vine, we cannot produce. Lack of production of what we want in our lives, lack of something manifesting that we want, that means a little fox has been gnawing at our vines. Charles Fillmore, who is a co-founder of Unity, said that he wanted to develop a religion or a faith group that demonstrates. It doesn't demonstrate if we don't activate. We have to activate so it can demonstrate. Okay. So we don't want our spiritual strength. So let's say that Jesus, the teaching of Jesus, is our vine, and we are a little branch coming off the vine. And if there's a fox gnawing at our vine, we can't get the nutrition from the branch. Do you see? So that's where we have to look for the signs. If you are depleted, what is the sign? If you are depressed, what is the sign before it? And that sign is usually, and I would probably say always, in a thought. We may think it's an emotion, but behind that emotion is a thought. Okay. Beware of the little foxes. Only, yeah, but, just, etc. Now, one of my least favorite scriptures is, there will be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea. That's from Luke 21 to 21, chapter 21, verse 25. It always scared the daylights out of me. I was always, afraid that, if let's say if there was an eclipse or something, I was terrified that was an imminent sign that something horrible was happening. I read the Bible and all the scary scriptures, and it was like, But why do you think they exist, if not to tell us to look for signs? Bad weather patterns, droughts that are way too long, climate change. There will be signs, okay? A virus that's going around that is making people sick, that is killing people. There will be signs. Wear your mask, okay? Social distance. If you don't want to wear a mask and you don't want a social distance, what's behind that? Is your ego screaming out? It surely can't be mammon, materialism. Everybody can afford a mask. So it has to be ego. Oh, I don't look good in it. I don't want to wear it. Nobody can tell me what I have to do. There will be signs. Follow the signs or take the effects. It's the way it works. All right. We have to be able to see the big picture to see the effects. So let's go back to he's just not that interested in you. He's just not interested in you, period. So, and I have had this happen, so I can tell you, I know what I'm talking about, expert in the field. I have waited and waited for the call, and then I have made the call. And sometimes he would come over, maybe we'd go out, maybe we wouldn't. And then he'd leave and say, I'll give you a call. How do we fall for that? There will be signs he didn't call. So you don't do it again. So if we learn to develop our foresight and look at that, having even, let's say, coffee. Coffee is my drink of choice. And if you drink too much coffee, number one, it's not good. Cheryl said, I'm sorry that happened to you. Honey, it happens to most women. If it never happened to you, you are an exception to the rule. Where was I? It's so easy for me to get off track. Anyway, you want to always, oh, I'm back with coffee. So I have a cup of coffee or even a glass of wine. And that's what I have every day. 1 cup of coffee, 1 glass of wine. That's my afternoon chill time. But when I say, oh, well, maybe I'll just have 1 more cup of coffee, I'm way more likely to have another cup of coffee than a glass of wine. 1 glass of wine just doesn't want coffee sometimes, But if I have that second cup of coffee, I'm going to find my blood pressure going up and everything. You have to learn what you have to do to stay healthy. So you can't have that but just if only. Look at the big picture. What's going to be the effect of this? All right. This is all metaphysics. If I'm doing this cause, what will the effect be? What is the price you're willing to pay for that? What is the price you're willing to pay for cheating on your taxes, for eating a whole box of chips instead of a whole bag of chips instead of a little bowl of chips, telling a teeny little white lie? There's a price on all of it, my friends. Extending your budget, there's a price for all of it. See, the thing is, do you want to pay the price or do you want to pay up front and follow the rules, live according to the principles, and there won't be any little foxes chewing on your vines? Foxes not allowed. Okay, well, I made it with 2 minutes to spare. And I enjoyed that. I hope you did enjoy it. Always know if you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask. You can type them in the comments. You can private message me on Facebook. You can email me at reveille@aol.com. If you enjoyed today's video, I invite you to check the other ones out on YouTube. Also to share with a friend. And you can always like it. Liking's good. Have a great day, and it's just Monday, so I will see you tomorrow. Meanwhile, be blessed.